Marina wakes up uncomfortable. She was sleeping at her small desk again, the old book she was translating open to the page she last remembers with a parchment of completely dried ink translations containing a large ink blot where her pen rests while she sleeps. She looked at the blot with disdain, knowing that she'd have to rewrite the translation before giving it to her master. She then hears the loud laughter in the dining hall in the room next to her. That must be what woke me up, she thinks to herself. She takes a deep breath and quickly gets back to the translation at hand. She knew her master would be furious if it wasn't finished soon, and he believes this text will help him get closer to his goal. She was nearly finished with the initial translation and was already preparing a new piece of parchment to transcribe her notes to when she heard her name being called from the next room.
Marina!
It was her master. She stood and adjusted her ink-blotched skirt to lay flat before leaving her room. Just before she enters the dining hall, she takes a deep breath. She quickly looks over to one of the mindless servants, removing the carcass of some dish to replace it for the master. How she wishes she could talk with someone in this castle besides her master. And after that thought, she moved into the dining hall. Her master was waiting, looking annoyed that it had taken her so long to attend to him. The other person in the room was her master's son, Mordecai. Mordecai was a Cambion, and in his father's presence he didn't hide his natural form. Obediently, Marina stands at the table opposite from her master and waits.
Marina, have you been to see the candidate that Mordecai has brought us?
She stands there nervously. If she hadn't been so busy falling asleep, then she would have noticed the new candidate. I haven't. I was translating the text you asked me to.
You need to pull your weight around here,
Mordecai interrupted. He stood in motion for Marina to stand before him. She did so while looking at Mordecai with scorn. While Mordecai was undoubtedly treated as Cooley's son, she had a more questionable relationship. She was in many ways Cooley's slave, but he had raised her from her childhood. While she didn't want to admit it, her master was the closest thing she had to a father or parent of any kind. This relationship strangely threatened Mordecai, and he would often lash out at her.
You can't be hiding behind your books forever.
Mordecai starts. He takes a step towards her, forcing her back.
Your purpose is to serve your master, and if you can't keep up your duties around the castle...
At least I have duties besides traveling the land and looking for a candidate. There's a reason that he doesn't trust you to study the ancient texts.
He has her trapped against the wall now. Her defiant streak starts to die down. Mordecai looks at her with utter malice while their master waits for them to sort themselves out.
You halfling bastard,
he grits between his teeth as he takes a hold of her horns.
Are you implying that I am simple?
Marina, all confidence lost, says nothing but looks up at him.
You foolish tiefling piece of scum!
He begins to squeeze her horns as if to break them off.
You dare insult me, the son of your master?
Marina cries out in pain as Mordecai continues to apply pressure to her skull.
Mordecai, that's enough.
Cooley calmly says, taking a long drink from his glass. Mordecai immediately stops the abuse and takes a step back. Cooley approaches Marina and stands towering above her.
Marina, you should be more attentive. After you assess the candidate for sacrifice, I want to see you for discipline.
Mordecai laughs.
Who is the candidate?
Marina asks, staying on her knees. The pain of her horn still radiates around her skull.
Some abyssal bastard bard,
Mordecai says, taking a sip of his wine.
Just go mark him and see if he survives.
Marina keeps her eyes trained on the ground as she attends to her duties in the dungeon. Marina looks at the unconscious bard in the dungeon. Looking him over, he seems to be human. At closer inspection, she finds small horns that blend in with his hair. She looks at him sadly. He probably has other things he wants in life other than being sacrificed to her master's ruthless patron in the name of an ancient evil. She prepares the incantation over him and hopes that he will survive the marking. She closes her eyes and touches his chest. The incantation was nearly second nature to her at this point, even though she doubted she had it right. None of the candidates so far have survived the marking. She hoped that this one survives. She finishes the ritual, a ghost of the mark appearing on his flesh. He was still breathing, which was more than any of the other ones had done. While she was glad he was alive, she was worried about what would happen to him next. Marina was finally back in her small room. The few lashings that she was given were bleeding through her underdress. She collected an old text and began to read it, wishing against all odds that there was some sort of healing spell that she had missed amongst reading it many times in the past. One of the pages got her attention the most. It looked like a blank page save for a hastily drawn emblem. It was an open book depiction with no other context. Confused, Marina pulls another text from the pile next to her desk. She flips around the pages until she finds the same symbol printed in the book. Though all of the text seems to fade away when she finds it, except for the title of the page, which reads, "Don't Say His Name." It is at this moment when she realizes that this is wrong. These events did happen, but long ago, not now. Where was she supposed to be? What was this book symbol? Marina now feels as though she is falling into a dark void. Gillian. The name comes to her easily. Who wasn't supposed to hear his name? Why was she warned? It was then that she realized that it must be a message from Gillian himself, the god of knowledge. It makes sense that he would communicate to her through the old texts. "Gillian," she calls out to the void, "what do I need to do?" There was a long pause. Learn the demon's name was all that she could glean before being pulled from this place.
How?
She cried into the darkness, but it was too late. She woke up in a dark room. Her belongings were taken, and the door was most likely locked. Feeling defeated, she waits in the dark. She is then hit with an idea. Was Mordecai the Cambion that was bothering them? Mordecai always thought that he was superior to her in every way. He wouldn't be that foolish. Marina pushes the door. It was unbarred. Mordecai assumed from years of captivity that she wouldn't try to escape on her own. It seems as though she had grown in the time they've been apart, for the better. She quietly leaves the room. She needs to find the rest of the party.